Welcome back to That's Entertainment, our thrilling weekly show where we occasionally dive off into the weeds and go and start asking questions around the industry. Today we have Daniel Broch. Should we dive into Filmworkz?
Yeah, sure.
About this. So, a new platform for creators around the world to gain knowledge and inspiration and tools to improve their creative output. So, where did the idea come from that? And what's the plans for this next innovation, Daniel?
Familiar story. You might want to. Necessity was the mother of invention. We basically are in, you could say the post-production business, and we own software, some of the best tools in the world used in image enhancement. So it's a software business, and in the same way that the technicalities of cinema was where the focus of the cinema was, and no one spoke about the customer. So why in the post-production industry, and in the software industry, and in the software post-production industry, it's all sort of back-end retrospective. How is it doing technically? No one thinks about the customer. So my point is, what does anyone need any of that stuff for? What do they do with it, right? And what they do is they create some incredible stuff. Like for instance, if we were making paintbrushes, right, we could talk about the virtues of paintbrushes, or I could tell you how Van Gogh used our paintbrush to paint his paintings. Which one is more interesting to listen to, and connects with more people, right? And then you go, oh, and by the way, this is how we make our paintbrushes. You know what I mean? But the point is, what is the point of it being there in the first place? Well, it enables people to create incredible. So Filmworkz is now built around this whole thing about creating incredible, and we're going to be, as you just said, celebrating, connecting, talking about, promoting, being involved with those people who create incredible as part of the creation process. And as part of that, they may use some of our tools to do that. In fact, they should do, because they're brilliant. But they may not. So the Filmworkz brand and culture basically is the step, the customer focused bit of our business, as every man went from cinema screen to customer. So our products are historically high-end professional. So people like Disney, Pixar, Universal, blah 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 blah, use our products. Historically, they've been sold in a sort of what I call an analog way. So we put something together for you. You buy a solution. It costs you $30,000-$40,000, and if you're Disney, that's what you pay. But if you're the army of sort of freelance, content creators now, working in a digital nomad way, applying their skills and creativity to separate jobs. You can now get our tools for, $99.
Right. Okay. Cool. So, so it's really a tool for each stage of the industry, even the big companies right down to the individuals that are looking to. Yeah.
As in fact, the podcast series we want to do is called the Create Incredible podcast series, which as I say, hails from up and down the knowledge ladder. So this sort of thing, like, the people at the top, if you're at the bottom, you aspire to be people at the top. And if you're at the top, you are once people at the bottom. Yeah. And what's the creative thread and the connectivity between those stories? And it's sort of, everyone's got the same story, but, so I want to connect the rungs of the ladder. Our customer base is people that have libraries of content that need to be, going back to the streaming platforms, repurposed, upscaled, up-res. We've got a great new tool called Transform AI, launching on the Filmworkz platform, which is basically auto up-res, upscale with intelligent correction as well. So you can process a lot of high volumes of content automatically and get it from SD to HD, 2K to 4K. 4K to 8K they are now in China. That standard is going up the whole time, isn't it? Right. And in order to be part of that game, you have to have stuff in the right format. So a lot of our tools do a lot of that stuff. And in the enhancement process, they correct stuff. So take noise out, grain, blah, 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 you know. So we've got some of the best tools in the world for that, actually.
Yeah, that's incredible. And I guess there's a big move now with, you know, celluloid having what, 80 years before it starts to rot, you know?
Yeah, so yeah, that's always been the case, and we definitely are in that space. I think an even bigger issue actually is probably tape.
Really? Okay. As in music tape?
As in videotape.
Okay, like VHS stuff, right?
Yeah, which has sort of, by comparison to film, no shelf life. And there is tons of it.
Right.
And the problem is that, you know, getting that into a digital format, getting it into the right resolution, getting it corrected, that takes, up to now, you know, a lot of investment in CapEx equipment and people doing stuff and all that type of stuff, you know. And so our solution basically automates that. So the Filmworkz platform, we start at, let's say, if we're 0 to 10, we start at 2 out of 10. So you know, a range of things you can do, services, products, that type of stuff, communities you can join. But, you know, we've got to grow the community, we've got to grow the scope of services, grow the products. You know, that's not, as you well know, that's not something that happens overnight. So
yeah,
the aspiration, the vision is to be the place where creators connect, you know, and that's designed to be high level, big. You know, what does that mean? I mean, that it means literally that, you know, can we be a meeting place for people in the creative process, where you know, in a sort of a, like I was saying before, in a democratized way.
yeah.
You know, there's a lot of hierarchy in this business, as you know. There's a lot of, you know, closed doors, all that type of stuff, you know. So we want to sort of, in the same way that, again, with cinema, so early on with Everyman, we had a small customer base with Everyman because the perception was you had to know about film to come.
Mm-hmm.
So if you didn't know about film, you were not worthy, therefore you were embarrassed. And the truth of the matter is, we wanted to just make people feel good.
Yeah.
And that's what happened. And in that sense, Filmworkz is designed to do the same thing.